Wow, how things have changed. After months and months of decrying how there were no meetings with the Russians in the Trump campaign, they're now left defending against an argument that no one is making. Watch Judge Janine on Fox News with this waving American flag in the background as she tries to shill for the most traitorous president in U.S. history.
I got news for you. There is no law that says a campaign cannot accept information from a foreign government. If that were the case, everyone on a campaign who talks to a foreign national is committing a crime. And for you geniuses out there, there can be no treason since we're not at war with Russia.
She's selling this whole thing like somehow the Russian government just plopped information into the hands of the Trump administration, which they also say they didn't actually receive in the first place, and that simply listening to a foreign government isn't illegal. Except that's not what the Trump campaign did, not even close. Republicans literally spent the whole campaign complaining that Hillary Clinton made the country less safe by having access to information on a private server that could be hacked. That was their public outcry anyway. And when Trump actually colludes with adversarial countries like Russia to beat a political opponent, Republicans are like, fake news. Remember, Trump is a Republican, and the Russians literally hacked his opponents, the Democrats. They hacked John Podesta in the DNC, and they've attacked American utilities and companies and civilians. The Trump campaign was absolutely excited to get this stolen material in some form or fashion. And after all the lies and lies and lies, they want us to take them at face value that they just got nothing. Sure you did, Don.
The crux of the issue is if they had been communicating to Great Britain and saying, you know, we look forward to having good relations with London over the next 4 years, nobody would care. Right. The point here is that they were communicating with a government that has been trying systematically to undermine American foreign policy for the last 4 years at least.
Not only did Donald Trump Jr. do something that was completely un-American, he violated the Federal Election Campaign Act, which says you cannot solicit anything of value from a foreign national. And as a former prosecutor, I can tell you that a conspiracy charge to violate that act is very easy to prove. You don't even have to show that a crime was completed. You just have to show he took one step to try to complete the crime, and he certainly did that.
John Cipher is a 28-year CIA veteran, a former station chief who was once posted to Moscow. He says the Russian intelligence services might have been exploiting information they already had about the Trumps.
This is like human fishing. They're putting bait out there to see if you're willing to swallow it. And the Trump campaign team swallowed it whole.
At least some reports, and we've got to get to the bottom of this, that there were upwards of 1,000 paid internet trolls working out of a facility in Russia, in effect taking over a series of computers, which are then called a botnet.
Today's WikiLeaks dump gives us another glimpse inside the Hillary Clinton campaign and some internal conflicts there. Fox News Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry searched through today's installment.
Hillary Clinton's health seemed to be a concern for top aides when she was prepping for the first Democratic debate in the fall of 2015.
And what do we know now? Ever since Trump has been president, he's actively tried to eliminate sanctions on Russia. It would be lovely if we lived in a world where Russian American interests were just happy as punch and we worked together with very little friction to address the problems in the world. That would be a great thing. Unfortunately, that's not where we are currently. And the fact that President Trump is so hard on every other country, including our allies, but wants to go out of his way to eliminate sanctions on Russia for absolutely nothing in return. That tells us it's because the Russians already paid him in full. Now, I'm just lost in how these party-over-country folks can wrap themselves in an American flag while simultaneously promoting the interests of an adversarial foreign country. And the Fox News people just lather in all that misinformation. It's actually frightening. Yes, the problem is Donald Trump and his Swamp Thing administration, but it's also the Republican morons who continue to back him. How can anyone sit idly by and watch the lies and attacks on our democracy time and time again and say, this guy is my guy? Especially after you suckers have been howling at the moon over Benghazi and all this other BS. Remember when President Obama got caught on a hot mic telling the puppet president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, that after the election he would have, quote, more flexibility? Republicans were outraged. They were so outraged.
My problem is my whole lifetime, the Soviets have been an adversary, now the Russia, obviously. But to say to the leader of Russia, wait till I get elected, I'm going to give you a much better deal that'll be in your interest, not our interest. I think you saw the true president. I don't care about the mic or anything else. For him to actually say that, show that weakness to the Soviets, to the Russians, who have been on the opposite side of us, and 90% of the things we've done is outrageous.
Well, it raises two questions. The first is, what other countries has he had this conversation with? Who else has he said to the Iranians, to the North Koreans, to a variety of places, you know, give me a little time, give me some space, let me get reelected, and then I'll sell out.
And if he's planning on doing more and suggest to Russia that he has things he's willing to do with them, he's not willing to tell the American people. This is to Russia. This is, without question, our #1 geopolitical foe. They fight every cause for the world's worst actors. The idea that he has some more flexibility in mind for Russia is very, very troubling indeed.
In a world where one man cannot lose, the fate of the world rests in one top-secret mission.
This is my last election. Yeah, after my election, I have more flexibility. I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and understand with me.
Your mission is simple, Mr. Obama. Win one last election to gain unchecked flexibility, weaken our defenses, and fundamentally transform the world. Dmitry will transmit the information.
This is how most of the headlines look. And while it's true that Trump is the least popular president in the history of our country for this much time in office since we started tracking it, but who the hell are the 36% of voters who still support this guy? Here's a newsflash. You're the fucking problem here. Don't say you're some patriot because you think your white boy privilege gives you the right to demean immigrants. Don't say you're a patriot because you have a gun and you go to church and you eat apple pie and you say you love this country. Those words are nice, but they don't mean shit. Being white or being Christian or being a white Christian doesn't make you a patriot. Actions mean something. The Republican Party had 7 investigations into Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama in a political circus, spending millions of taxpayer dollars in a situation that Hillary Clinton wasn't even personally responsible for in any way, shape, or form. And Republicans did what they always do. They politicize it. They hammer away at it with their fake patriotism, and then they stand on the backs of those American soldiers who died showing no real honor for their service. You just treat them like a used car you can sell off to the next schmo.
There are very few who will say it on the air, like Ana Navarro, but they will say it behind the scenes. If this were a Democrat in office and they had this sort of relationship with Russia and this many questions raised, all hell would be breaking loose from the Republican side about what do you do about this? We should hold investigations.
Oh, this would be called treason. If that were happen. Think about Benghazi.
So meanwhile, the Trump administration just lies and lies and lies, changing their story about their coordination and involvement with the Russian government. And you just sit there marinating in all that stupid.
Every time Russia's brought up, they say, oh, Trump, what do I have to do with it? I have nothing to do with Russia, folks, okay?
Are there any ties between Mr. Trump, you or your campaign, and Putin and his regime?
No, there are not. That's absurd, and there's no basis to it.
Absolutely not, and I discussed that with the president-elect just last night. Those conversations never happened.
Of course not. Why would there be any contacts between the campaign? Chris, this is all a distraction.
So no collusion whatsoever between anybody involved with Trump and anybody involved with Russia in the 2016 campaign?
No. How many people have to say that there's nothing there before you realize there's nothing there?
There is no collusion between me and my campaign and the Russians.
But the entire thing has been a witch hunt, and there is no collusion between certainly myself and my campaign, but I can always speak for myself and the Russians, zero.
Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, Jared Kushner, Michael Flynn, all reported directly to Trump. And all 4 of them have been busted lying and even breaking the law. Every single one of them. And they want us to believe that Trump knew nothing. Their argument is that they talked about a bank heist, but since according to them, they didn't get away with it, they're not really guilty of a crime. I did not believe for even 1 second that the Trump campaign failed to get what they wanted in that meeting and all of the free gifts from Russia thereafter. They knew those guys. The Russia government has been implicated by every major national security agency in terms of assisting Trump. There are emails and public calls for Russia to help Trump. He's busted. So now Trump and his flackies at Fox are like, big deal. That's not illegal. Well, it is a big deal. It is illegal, and meanwhile, the party is stupid, just keeps looking past it because their definition of patriotism is so whack, they can't comprehend that they're supporting a traitor in the White House. My name is Daniel Goldman. You can go to content.news today to become a member. Our journalism is funded by members like you. Please join today.